Stunning, thank you. Morao, moratte.
Good.
Moraimasu.
Yep.
Plain volitional. What was the volitional again?
So this is, sorry, give me a second. For some reason, Harry's sending me strange messages. Are you, sorry, give me a second, guys. Have you got the link, Rabbit? I sent it to you on Facebook. Right. I'll see you. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is like moraimasho, but in the plain form.
Oh. Morayo.
So it's for group 1 adjectives. So what you did was correct for group 2. For group 1, though, we take the u sound at the end and lengthen this with or.
So morao.
Yes, good. Morao. That's it.
Oh. Potential. Morareru.
So again, take the final u at the end of morao, the u, and this becomes an e with ru.
Hang on, let me read. Morao. Moraeru.
Yeah, exactly. Moraeru. Yeah, moraeru.
Moraeru. That was the potential experience.
Yeah.
Is the ta form plus kotogarimasu, isn't it? So
good, exactly, yeah.
Moratta kotogarimasu.
Perfect.
Obligative.
I must.
Morawanakereba narimasu.
Excellent, well done.
Obligative passive. This is the same as the potential, isn't it?
Only for group 2 verbs. So for group 1,
similar to the potential.
It is similar, yeah.
Morareru.
So make the plain negative first, like you did. I haven't done it yet, have you? Make the plain negative.
Morawanai.
Good. Chop off the nai.
Morawa.
And then put reru on the end. That's it. Yeah, you got it.
Morawareru.
Very, very good. Yeah. And then the same basically with passive, but not reru, but something else.
Seru, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Morawaseru.
Excellent. Perfect. Well done. Thank you. Tachi, how about to sell? To sell.
What was the verb again?
Uru. Uru.
Uru. Never heard. Uru. Okay. Very difficult for me.
Okay.
Urute? No.
So I think it's a group 1 verb. Finishes with ru. So think of another model group 1 verb that finishes with ru. A model group 1 verb.
I really don't know.
Okay, so the one that I always have for this one is kaeru, to go home. Kaeru. So to say go home, please, what would you say?
Kaete.
Kaite. Yes, exactly.
Kaite. So utte.
Utte, exactly, yeah.
Utte. Utte. Okay, yeah, but I will need an explanation in every section. I'm
okay.
Away for so long.
Sure. Okay, so the polite form is just the mass form of this. How would you say this in the mass form?
Urumas.
Urimas, ne?
Urimas.
Urimas. And the volitional?
Yeah, I have no clue.
Okay, so this is urimasho, but in the plain form. So if you think of the end of urimasho, this is a long or. So you do the same thing with the u at the end of uru. This u becomes or.
Uro.
Uro, exactly. Uro.
Interesting. U. Ureru.
Good. Ureru. Well done.
We said utte, right?
Yes, exactly.
Utte koto ga arimasu.
But not utte, but
Utta.
utta. Okay, good. One more time.
Utta koto ga arimasu.
Good.
Then the negative is uranai.
Good, exactly.
Then uranakereba narimasen.
Good, well done.
Urareru.
Good.
Uraseru.
Very good, well done. Tobe. お疲れさん. Tobe. To rotate.
回す。
Good. 回す. Yep.
回して。
Yep.
回します。
Good.
回そう。
Good.
回せる。
Good.
回したことがあります。
Good.
回さなければなりません。
Yep.
回される。
Yep.
回させる。
Mawasaru. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Well done. Good. Very efficient. Yanis, how about to inhale, to breathe?
I think I don't know this inhale.
Okay, can anybody remember what this is? To breathe in?
Su.
Su. Good. Su.
Su.
Yeah. Su.
Su. So it's su te.
Good. Sute.
Suimasu.
Good. Well done. Suimasu.
Then conditional is suo.
Good. Suo. Yeah.
Suo. And potential is sueru.
Very good.
Sueru. Sueta kotogarimasu.
Not sueta, but just make the te form first. Sutta, exactly. Sutta.
Suta kotogarimasu.
Good.
Suna kereba narimasen.
So this last u at the end, this is a little bit like the last u at the end of ao, to meet. So what's the negative of ao?
Yes, so it's suwana kereba narimasen.
Very good. Excellent. Good.
Passive is suwareru.
Good.
Suwaseru.
Suwaseru. Perfect. Well done. Good. And Harry, how about to listen? To listen.
Kiku.
Kiku. Good.
Kite.
So this is kite. So it's
Kite.
kite. Yeah.
Ikimasu.
Yep.
I just keep forgetting what volitional actually means.
So this means kikimasho. Let's listen.
Oh, okay.
But it's the plain version. So kiku becomes
Kiko.
kiko. Good. Yeah.
I still don't understand what the volitional means.
Well, volitional means you volunteered to do it. So
Okay.
let's do it. Let's do
Okay,
it.
it means let's.
Yeah.
Potential is can. Hikeru.
Good. Kikeru.
Kita koto ga arimasu.
Very good. Yeah.
Kita nakareba narimasen.
Yep. Good.
I'm not sure what the passive means.
Okay,
Really?
so this means I was listened to.
Ah, okay, I just don't know.
Okay, so let's just step through it together there. So make the plain negative first, which you just did. actually.
Kikanai,
Kikanai, good.
kika,
Chop off the nai,
kika,
kika, and then put reru on the end.
kikareru.
Kikareru. And then for causative, which means I made somebody listen or I was made to listen.
It's the sasu.
Exactly, yeah. So make the plain negative again.
Kikanai.
Good. Chop off the nai
Yeah.
and then put seru on the end.
Kikaseru.
Yes, good. Kikaseru. Okay, good. Right. Guys, I'll say to you what I told the advanced class the other day. I know we keep coming back to this practice of doing this transformation with the verbs. And then I asked the advanced group why we're doing this. And rather than sort of go through that process of asking, I'll tell you what the answer is, which is really this is the central core of the language, of any language, really. I mean, almost every sentence which has a structure has a verb in it, even to say I am or it is, like des, for example. This is still a kind of verb. This is the existence verb. So really, if we become very efficient and good at and skillful at doing this quick transformations of verbs, then it's much easier to make sentences really quickly. So this is like being able to, I don't know, in Iaido terms, this is like being able to do Nukitsuke without having to think about how to draw the right hand and how to draw the left hand. It just comes out automatically. So yeah, we will keep doing this kind of practice because it really is what makes a difference between being able to respond in good time and spending hours going through a dictionary, making sure you've got the right form of the verb. Learning the verbs themselves will take a much longer time, of course, but verb transformation, the rules about verb transformation, the quicker we get, then this will have a massive effect on the rest of our Japanese. Okay, let's go on to the revision of last week's subtopic, which was very much about conversation, practical usage. So let's have a look. So this week is about giving advice, expressing a preference, and asking permission. So when we did comparators, this thing about hodo, hodo, tirian, yori, or kides, we had this bit which said a verb in the plain past form, in the ta form, ho ga ides, which means it would be best if you did this. So this is a kind of advice. So verb, plain negative of the verb ho ga ides. So this is a really kind of standard sentence structure to say you should do something. You should do something. For example, takusan yasai o tabeta ho ga ii desu. So this means lots of vegetables. Let's put my red pointer. Lots of vegetables, if eaten, is good. So it's best if you eat lots of vegetables. Okay, so far? If you don't know the sentence structure, then I recommend writing this down. This sentence structure just here, actually. Okay, if you want to give advice to not do something, the structure is more or less the same. But you put the verb not in the plain past form, but in the plain negative form. It would be best if you didn't do this verb. So something nai ho ga ii desu. Harry, if you turn on my printer now, I'll send this slide as a print for you. Do you want to? Okay, just make sure the printer output tray is clear. So for example, you shouldn't drive fast. You would say hayaku, means quickly. Unten shinai hou ga ii desu. Hayaku unten shinai hou ga. It would be best if you didn't drive quickly. It would be best if you didn't drive quickly. I'm just going to send this to Harry just a second. Come on. My God, this is slow. I know why it's trying to do all of the slides. I'll come back in a second. I'll come back to this. I'll do the print in a second, Harry. So if we replace ides with mashi, it converts it from meaning it would be best to it would be preferable. So saying it would be best is very kind of objective, general. It means everybody thinks it's best if you eat vegetables. Everybody thinks it's best if you don't drive quickly. But to say I would prefer, it would be preferable, then we replace I with mashi, mashi. So I would rather do verb. So everything else remains the same, just replace I with mashi. So let's just try a few little examples, shall we? While I'm just trying to get this to print. Settings and preview. Nathan, how would you say I would prefer to not go to Tobe's birthday party?
Tobe no Tanjobi no party ni
Yeah.
Ikana where I am.
So you can make the whole verb into the plain negative.
Yeah, just the plain negative, yeah.
Yeah.
Ikanai hou ga mashi desu.
Very good. Yes. Ikanai hou ga mashi desu. Good. Tachi, how would you say I would prefer to not drink too much beer? I don't know if you're the sort of person to say this sort of thing.
How do you say too much in negative sense?
So in the affirmative sense, how would you say to drink too much?
Takusan?
This means a lot, but too much. Do you remember this?
Sugiru?
Yes, good. So to make drink too much, how do you combine these together?
Nomisugiru.
Nomisugiru. Okay. So sugiru is the verb you need to change now into the plain negative.
Nomisugi naide?
So nomisuginai, and then
Nomisuginai hou ga mashi desu.
very good. Yes,
Is this
nomisuginai.
mashi with double E?
No, it's a single E.
Mashi desu.
Yes, mashi desu. Yeah. Okay. Tobe, how would you say I would prefer to go? Let me think. I would prefer to practice tomorrow. I would prefer to practice tomorrow.
練習する。
Yes.
Practice.
Yep.
明日、
Good.
練習した方がいいです。
した方が
した方がマシです。
Mashi desu, ne? Yeah. This is my doctor coming through, guys. So I shall talk to you in a bit. I thought you were going to ask something like, what about if you don't want to eat doves?
Also, what about if you don't want to eat doves?
Well, luckily, doves and pigeons are the same word in Japanese, so it's exactly the same as before. Okay, so this is giving some kind of light advice to say takusan yasai or tabuta hou ga ii desu. It's kind of saying like it is best if you do this, or it is best if you don't do this. But you can give some stronger advice with this word beki, beki, and this actually forms much easier sentence structure to do this. So the way to do this is to make the infinitive of the verb, plain form of the verb, and just put bekides after it. You should, beki means you should, or it is optimal to, and then verb. Okay. So for example, sensei no shie o kiku beki desu. Nathan, what does this mean?
You should listen to sensei's teaching.
Yeah, exactly. Sensei no shie. Yeah, exactly this. Good. To say you should not, you don't need to turn the verb into the negative. You simply leave it as it is in the infinitive and add beki dewa arimasen to say it is not optimal to do something. If you need to make any notes, guys, now's a good time. For example, hamono o motte iru toki ni hashiru beki dewa arimasen. So Tachi, what does this mean?
Hamono.
Yeah, hamono is what this is. It's anything with a blade, scissors, knives,
Sharp object.
yeah, sharp objects, lawnmowers,
That's ha.
chainsaws, that sort of thing.
物を持っているときに走るべきはではありません。
Hmm.
Like, if you are carrying a sharp object, you better not run.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. If you're when you're carrying a sharp object, you should not run. Good. Any questions, guys, on beki or mashi? Or this
What's
sort of thing?
intensiveness, the difference in the intensiveness when we say we should not do, we must not do, we say nakereba narimasen.
Yeah.
And this is a bit softer, is it?
Yeah, let me just grab the screen a second. So on the spectrum of strength, you've got the what's it called, the obligative, which is the nakereba something, nakereba narimasen. This is really strong. This really means you must. You must. This is right at the top. We then have, excuse me, just under this, we've got bekides, which means you should. Then we have hoga, so verb, something either ta or nai, hoga ides. There's not really much difference between hoga ides and hoga mashides. Mashides just means, as far as you're concerned, it's better, whereas ides just means generally, objectively, it's better. And then there was one more. Becky. What was it now?
Ikemasen.
So shite wa ikimasen. So then it right down at the opposite spectrum to say you must not is verb te wa ikimasen, which means you must not. You must not. So all of these can be, I mean, this is really, this one really goes at the top on the negative column. These are things you should do. This is you shouldn't do. So all of these can be negated. For example, bekides can be turned into beki dewa arimasen. And then you can even invert ta hoga ides, because this is already able to be made into negative anyway, by changing it from ta to mean you should to nai, which means you should not.
So it's like you must, you should, you better.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You okay, Harry? You got your head in your hands like it's it's all ending here.
Sorry, and after hoga is the verb with kudasai, more polite, let's say.
So this just means please do that, but it's not really giving advice. It's just saying it would be best to do this, or you should do this. So kudasai can be a separate sentence. You could say it's best if you bought Andy a really nice birthday present, so please go and spend 500 euros on a birthday present. I've recorded this as well now, so it's all kind of official. Yeah, is that okay, Yanis? Yeah. Okay, good to continue, guys, or are you still making notes? Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Shall I explain that, Toby?
To walk like an Egyptian. Yeah.
Egyptian.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
guys, there's a new rule in Andy's Japanese Corner, which is if you're making notes and we're waiting for you, when you're finished, you need to signify you finished writing by doing a little walk like an Egyptian, like this. Tachi, I hope you're watching. You're going to be the first one to do this. You've got to do. That's it. Yeah. Good. 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 Okay. So this is the protocol now. Good to go. Cool. Right. Let's move off of that. Oh my God, what's gone out? What's happening here? Oh, sorry, guys. Did we do the test? Who this is? We didn't examine who this is. Nathan, do you know who this is?
Is it you 50 years ago?
Ah, you're so close. Anybody else?
No, I don't.
Toby?
I know.
Oh,
Huey
you know you.
Lewis.
Of course I know.
Huey Lewis.
Huey Lewis. Yes, exactly. Huey Lewis. Exactly this. Yeah. Okay. So when we want to ask permission to do something, we make this form of sentence. So for a positive request, can I do X? We say, or is it okay if I do X? Then we put the verb in the te form and ask mo ii desu ka? Mo ii desu ka? I think most of you have probably heard this before. For example, this sentence here, ashita gekijou ni itte mo ii desu ka? Yanis, what does this mean? Ashita gekijou ni itte mo ii desu ka?
Gekijo, what is this?
This is theatre.
Theater.
Yeah.
So it's try to make it in English. So
Sure.
means tomorrow in the theater, going. So it is, may I go tomorrow to the theater?
Perfect, perfect. May I go tomorrow to the theatre? Excellent, well done, good. This more, which is just here in the sentence, this only means if I do it or not, if I do it or not. So what it actually does, it just softens this request, or it softens the question. You can say this sentence without the more. You can put the verb in the te form and then say ii desu ka? For example, this one here, ashita gekijou ni itte ii desu ka? You can put it this way as well. Putting more in there makes it slightly softer. So it's a good idea to learn it this way, but you might hear it expressed this way. So
it sounds like more than can I go, may I go? It sounds more like, is it okay if I go?
yeah, exactly. This is what it basically means. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to directly translate, please let me go to the theatre, then we go back to the causative form, which we did, weeks ago. ikasete moraimasu ka? Would you please let me go to the theatre? But this is just asking permission. Is it okay if I do this? Okay so far, guys? Yeah. Now, you may want to be omitted from doing something. Is it okay if I don't study Japanese today? In which case we put the verb in the nai form, and we put it into this nakte form actually. So, for example, iku becomes ikanai, and then we change it to ikanakute, ikanakute, ikanakute. And then again, just append mo ii desu ka? Is it okay if I don't do this? So, for example, kusuri o nomanakute mo ii desu ka? Kusuri means medicine. O nomu, to drink or to swallow. Nomu. Sorry, give me a second, guys. Let me just write down something. 1630. Nomu becomes nomanai, becomes nomanakute. Mo ii desu ka? Is it okay if I don't drink this medicine? Again, you can add the mo or you can omit it. Leaving it in makes it slightly more polite though. Just see what the questions were a second. Yeah, okay. Any questions so far, guys? Right, I'm going to go into this Bekides into a little bit more depth because it was to answer a question that somebody had on it the first time we went through this. Okay, this bit's called Becky Goes Bad. So, right at the top, we've got things that you should do. So this means this is Becky. This will be Becky Des. Becky Des. So, for example, mainichi yasai o taberu Becky Des. This means it is optimal, it is better, it is best if you eat vegetables every day. Okay. If we negate this sentence and say Becky de wa arimasen, it doesn't mean you must not. It means you shouldn't. It's not optimal. It's not an absolute prohibition, though. It's not an absolute prohibition. So, for example, mainichi niku o taberu beki de wa arimasen. So, mainichi, every day, niku o taberu, eat meat, beki de wa arimasen, doesn't mean you must not eat meat every day. It just means you shouldn't. It would be better if you did not eat meat every day. And again, making this a little bit stronger, think about a slightly stronger situation. Itsumo sake o nomu. Itsumo, all the time. Sake o nomu, drink sake. Beki de wa arimasen. So again, this doesn't mean you must not drink alcohol constantly. I mean, what would the Irish do with their time, Nathan? This means it is not optimal. You should not. However, if you absolutely want to say you must not, it is absolutely prohibited, then you can't use Becky. You can't use Becky. You have to use a different phrase. This is so not Becky that we need another word, in which case we would say unten suru mae ni, before driving, sake o nomu, so to drink alcohol before driving. This is absolutely prohibited. So unten suru mae ni sake o nonde wa ikimasen. Ikemasen. So you can see we put the verb into the te form and then put wa ikemasen after it. And I would recommend writing this down because it's a useful phrase to know. Nonde wa ikemasen. Guys, I'd like you to give me a walk like an Egyptian when you're happy to proceed. You still writing notes, Nathan, or are you just not doing? You're refusing to do the walk like an Egyptian.
I don't understand the difference between the second one and the third one.
Actually, there is no difference. It's just saying that this is kind of lightly giving some negative advice, like you shouldn't really eat meat every day. And this is giving slightly stronger advice. This is saying you really shouldn't drink alcohol every day. So it's not, neither of these are prohibited. This one is slightly softer than this one. But if you want to go the full whack and say you must not, then you can't use Becky. You can't use Becky des or Becky de wa arimasen. You have to use this one.
Is it the itsumo which is the making it stronger?
I was just kind of coming up with some kind of examples of things that range between being things you might not want to do and you really shouldn't do, but they're still not in the range of prohibition. Yeah. So where you're giving some, where you're saying you should or you should not, then you can use Becky, but you can't use Becky with must not or you must. So Tobe, how would you say?
Go with the color coding, not the height. Got it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Tobe, how would you say you must wear a seatbelt in the car?
車でシートベルトを閉める。
Good.
閉まらなければなりません。
閉めなければなりません。
閉めなければなりません。
Yeah, good.
Right.
And then, Toby, to keep you on, then how would you say you must not drive on the right in the UK?
イギリスに、
Yeah.
運転する右に、
Yeah.
I think I painted myself in the corner now.
That's okay. So do the details first and then put the actual verb and the command at the end.
Yeah. So イギリスに右に運転してはいけません。
Right. So that when we're talking about things you must do and things you mustn't do, the must do we've already done with the obligative, haven't we? The shinakereba narimasen. The must not do is expressed this way. This is the opposite of you must. This is the opposite of the shinakereba narimasen phrase. Yeah. Okay. Any questions, guys? All good? Cool. Let's do some exercises. This will make it a little bit easier, he said. Clear all drawings. Here we go. Okay, so some of these are quite long and complex. If you don't know the vocabulary, then just say, and then we can build the sentences up together. So let's start with Yanis. It would be best if you studied often before your geography exam. And you can decide whether to use the shitahoga ides or surubeki des. It's entirely up to you. It's entirely up to you.
Okay. So first I will put geography exams, but I don't know the Japanese name.
Okay, so does anybody remember the word for geography?
Yeah, I did.
It's a South American country, if it helps.
Yeah. Just a second. Chile.
Chile, yeah, Chile. Chile. And then what's exam, Yanis?
I don't remember.
I mean, if in doubt, do you remember the name of a Dan examination in Budo?
I try to.
Oh, okay, right. Can anybody remember this?
Insa?
Shinsa. We can use Shinsa. For school examinations, we usually use shiken. Yeah, we usually use shiken. Shiken. So chiri no shinsa or chiri no shiken.
Okay. Benkyo.
Mm-hmm.
Benkyo. Shita. Ho. Hoga i desu.
Yes, good. Yeah, benkyo shita hoga ii desu. Okay, let's add a bit more detail in here, though, Yanis. So we've got this word often. Often. Do you remember how to express this word often?
No.
Can anybody help?
Yoku.
Yoku. Yeah, exactly. Yoku. So yoku means often. Also means well. So this is the, for example, the adverb of e meaning good. Yoku. So yoku, and then, Yanis, this was before your geography exam. So we've got chiri no shiken here. What can we put in here to give a time reference to say it's either before it or it is for the purpose of it, for the benefit of it?
Nara. No.
No, you could use. This is kind of conditional though, but there's another way of saying for the benefit of, for the purpose of. Do you remember?
No.
Can anybody help?
For before I told Mayeni.
Yeah, so exactly. So you can say not my ni, it's before. And what about for the purpose of?
No tameni.
No tameni, good. I'm sure you remember no tameni, right, Yanis?
Yeah.
Tameni, yeah.
Now I remember. Yes, tameni.
Yeah, but I mean, as this was before, let's go for no mae ni. And let me just talk you through this time reference. We actually have a whole lesson on this in a few weeks' time, but let me give you a quick preview. Verb mae ni means before doing the verb. If it's a noun, like an exam, then this is noun not mae ni, which means before the noun, e.g. exam, birthday, etc. Okay. If you want to do, so this is all before. For after, we put the verb in the, sorry, this should be verb in the plain form, in infinitive. And this needs to be in the plain past form. And we say atode. Atode means after doing the verb. Or if it's a noun, again, you can probably guess this is going to be not atode, which means after the noun. For example, an event, like an exam or a I recommend writing this down. Oh, that's quick. Wow. It's a fast turnaround, Dachi.
Form verb plus atode. after giving a verb. Nine. Oops.
It's all right. I like listening to your inner dialogue, Nathan.
It's nothing very inner about it.
I like a man who wears his split personality on his sleeve.
I like the stairs pressing on Jens' shoulder.
You know, he lives in a S&M dungeon. That's why he's got a spiral staircase. Okay, good to go, guys. Yeah. Okay. So let's just make sure we've got the right version of this then. So it would be chiri, geography, no shigen, no mae ni. So this is obviously, this chiri no shigen is a noun, isn't it? A geography exam. No mae ni. And then yoku, I mean often. And then as Yana said, benkyou shita hou ga ii desu. This is the perfect answer. Okay, Nathan, it would be best if you arrived early for your doctor's appointment.
To arrive is what?
Who can remember? Who can help? Anybody?
Tsuku.
Tsuku. Good.
Tsuku.
Yeah.
So it would be best. Suita hou ga ii desu.
Yeah, that's going to
Is
be
the
the last
verb
bit,
I'm
right?
looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Early.
Do you remember doctor?
Hayame ni?
Oh, good. Yeah, that's early. Yeah. Hayame ni.
I'm just throwing words out. I'll put them in order in a minute.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. No problem.
Doctor is. Can't you just say sensei for doctor?
So you need sensei just means it's what you call a doctor to his face, but you need to be more specific when you're talking about a doctor. So, can anybody remember this one?
Isha?
Isha. Yeah. So Isha is a really kind of this is the exact dictionary translation. When you talk about doctors, you honorize them both with an o at the beginning and often with a san at the end. Oisha-san. Because you don't want to be rude to somebody who might be putting their hand inside you at some point in the future, do you? Yeah, oisha-san, oisha-san.
I feel like I should know the word for appointment, but I don't.
Okay, this is actually slightly tricky. So the word for, what's the word? Reservation is yoyaku. Yoyaku. This means a reservation, but in a restaurant or similar. But this doesn't really work with appointments with doctors. So the word we use instead is yakusoku, which actually means promise or appointment. Yakusoku.
Yeah, yoyaku is the word I had heard of.
Yeah, if you used it in this case, it wouldn't be wouldn't sound funny, but usually you say yakusoku.
Is it just oisha-san and no yakusoku?
Yep, thanks, exactly.
Should there be a particle between that and hayame ni?
Yeah, this is actually a time reference here.
So yakusoku ni.
Yes, good.
Hayame ni suita hou ga ii desu.
Oishita no yakusoku no hayame. Yakusoku. Actually, this. Sorry, I beg your pardon. This is actually your time reference, and because we've got suita to reach, this is actually your basically your destination. But nitsuku or tsuku. I think ni or both could be used here actually. It wouldn't really matter. You can use ni or, doesn't really matter. Good. お医者さんの約束に早めに着いた方がいいです。Really good. Can I ask you to say it again, please?
お医者さんの約束に早めに過ぎた方がいいです。
Perfect. Well done. Good. Tachi, you should not drink alcohol before driving. And you can make this as strong as you like. You can either say it's absolutely verboten, or you can say you really shouldn't.
I'll take a peek.
Okay.
運転する前に酒の飲んではいけません。
Good. 運転する前に、酒を Can you say the last bit again, please?
飲んではいけません。
飲んではいけません. Good. いけません. Okay, excellent. Guys, you know the difference between sake or sake and all this kind of stuff? Yeah? Okay, some of you do, some of you don't. So let's quickly go through some vocabulary. So, osake, this just means alcohol, any kind of alcohol. This can be anything, beer, wine, etc. And it can also include sake. So sake specifically is rice wine. And rice wine is also sometimes called Nihonshu. Nihonshu. Yeah, Nihonshu. This is also rice wine. And there is also another loan word, arukoru, which is another word for alcohol. Yeah. Okay, Tobe, you should not eat too much salt in your food. I think you had this one last week, didn't you?
I have had this 2 times, I think.
Okay. How about you also go to the dentist every year?
Right. So, Haisha Sanni.
Good.
I think I will start over and say Maitoshi.
Maitoshi. Good.
Mm.
Maitoshi. Every year. Good.
Haisha Sanni.
Yeah.
Itta hoga ii desu.
Yes. Good. Itta hoga ii desu. Okay. So as you're a member of the dedicated members of the honourable Tasogai class, can you put this in the Becky Des, please?
Maitoshi Haisha San ni iku beki desu.
Yes, very good. Yeah. Iku beki desu. Excellent. Well done. Harry, let's do this one here. You should not eat too much salt in your food.
Shiro?
Sure. Yeah.
Shiro. I want to say something like Anne-Marie.
Yeah, good. Yep, you can use Anne-Marie here.
Anne-Marie Shiro.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yep.
Rio.
Good. Go ahead.
Yori, is it?
Yeah, Yori. Yeah.
She should not. Or tabita hoga ii desu. Not. No, so it's got to be the other way.
Yeah.
Tabite. How about more like taberu benki de wa arimasen?
Taberu beki de wa arimasen. Good. It's good. Amari ryori ni taberu beki de wa arimasen. Good. Do you remember the other way of doing this? So beki de wa arimasen is fine. This is really a good way of doing this. But what about the Hoga version? Do you remember how to do this? I mean, use your notes. Don't have to pull it out of your memory.
Sorry.
Tabenai hoga
Yeah, good.
ii desu.
Ryori ni tabenai hoga ii desu. Good. Yeah, exactly this. Amari shi o ryori ni tabenai hoga ii desu. Excellent. Good. Back to Yannis. I just want to see how many of these others we've got to do, because I'd rather us. We did some variations. Give me a second. Zoom's being stupid as usual. Oh, I'll tell you what, guys. Let's read these together first, shall we? Before we move any further. In fact, we're going to do this, and then we're going to move on to the next subject, because the next subject's a little bit more in depth. So if you can unmute yourselves, but please make sure that you understand the sentence you're saying before you say it. Okay, what the actual meaning of the sentence. Chiri no shiken no mae ni yoku benkyou shita hou ga ii desu.
シリの試験の前によく勉強した方がいい。
よく勉強した方がいいです。
And then arriving early for the doctor's appointment. お医者さんの約束に早めに着いた方がいいです。
お医者
お医者さんの約束に
に
行った方がいいです。
着いた方がいいです。
You shouldn't drink alcohol before driving. 運転する前に酒を飲んではいけません。
運転する前にを飲んで
はいけません。
運転する前に酒を飲んではいけません。
あんまり塩、let's do this top one. あんまり塩を料理に食べるべきではありません。
アメリカ
あまり塩を料理に食べるべきではありません。
And 毎年歯医者さんに行った方がいいです。
毎年
歯医者さんに行った方がいいです。
Good. There was a thing I wanted to look at. Oh, yeah. Let's do a different little box over here. Let's do the drinking sake one. Let's pull that out a second. Let me put that over here. Okay, so look at this this phrase, guys. 運転する前に, so before driving, 酒を飲んではいけません. Everybody happy with this sentence format? What it's saying, how we construct it? Yeah, good. Okay, this ikemasen at the end, this just basically means bad, bad. So if you think back to when we did the obligatives, to say you must do this, let's just make a typical kind of sentence like in the UK you must drive on the left. So in the UK you must drive on the left. So イギリスで左側 sorry 左側に運転しなければなりません. Okay? Everybody recognizes this sentence structure as well, don't they? Okay, so this basically means if you don't do this, if you don't drive on the left, then narimasen. This is the consequence. So narimasen, which means basically it doesn't become, which really kind of means it's bad, it's not cool, etc. And then we've got ikemasen. Ikemasen really means it doesn't go. It doesn't go, it doesn't work. And really, this also means it's bad, it's not cool. These are you can really interchange these in these sentences. You can say nonde wa sorry, unten suru mai ni sake o nonde wa narimasen. or igirisu de hidari gawa ni unten shinakereba ikemasen. Instead, you can put this in. In fact, in this place here, let's just highlight this with some kind of highlighting tool, which I don't actually have on Zoom. This phrase here, ikemasen and narimasen, basically in this place, you can put anything which is negative. Anything you like. You can say dame desu, that's bad. Baka desu, mazui desu. So I know mazui means it doesn't taste very nice, but it also means it's kind of unsavory. It's not good. It's not acceptable to do this. So anything which is negative, you can put in this place here, in here, and in here. It's just this first one is saying, if you do this, it's bad. And in this one, it's saying, if you don't do this, it's bad. It's one meaning you must not, and one saying you must. Yeah. I'm going to ask you guys to give me a walk like an Egyptian when you're ready to proceed. Okay. Good, good, good. Good. Thanks, Nathan. We can, our next Saturday drinking session, we're going to have to practice this a bit more, I think. Good. Okay. You see, Nathan, you've got to get your tail and your head aligned properly. It's not just a kind of floppy hands in the air.
I just don't want to get cancelled.
Is it cultural appropriation, do you think?
I don't know. Don't want to find out.
Appropriation, it's just plain racist.
Sorry. It's still played at discos. It's not like it's been Michael Jackson's yet. Okay.
We can be open to any sort of dancing, right?
True. Yeah. We can just call this the peacock dance, shall we? Right. Probably people from Alhambra will have a problem with this now. Let's carry on. Okay, I should warn you now, guys, this next topic it can become really complex. In fact, it created so many problems for the first time we went through this that I had to create 2 or 3 extra slides. So don't be entirely surprised if it's confusing. I think if you just give yourself time to hear it explained a few times using different slides, and then I can explain it again if you still don't get it. Please don't worry if you don't get it. Okay, we'll get it eventually. But it's about the most flexible of the time references, which is toki. Toki just means when. When. It's the same character which is used for hour, ji. But this just means when, really. So let's just quickly refresh, or slowly refresh, the timing of actions we've used so far. So we've used, so part 1 of it was using nagara, which was basically multitasking, wasn't it? To do X while doing Y. And this had a little bit of regulations about it, of course, because if you're multitasking, it means one person doing 2 things. So the subject has to be the same. Part 2 was doji ni, which was doing X at the same time as Y, but it wasn't under the same regulations as nagara. So you could have 2 independent things happening at the same time. Generally, they're kind of instantaneous. So in comparison to nagara, which really means a duration of time for both tasks, doji ni was usually meant to mean 2 instantaneous things happening at the same time. Walking into a building, sitting down, a car exploding, you know, things like this. Toki literally means time, and it's, as I said, it's the same kanji as hour or o'clock. It's this kanji here, ji. To construct this this phrase, when something happens, then something else happens, then it's really, the structure is really, really simple. We've got a time reference, which can be a verb, an adjective, or a noun. Then toki, and then the outcome. So when A happens, or when A happened, B happened as well. So just the same as all other time references, this is your actual time reference, the one that goes before. And then this is your explanation as to what happened after. Okay, so far, guys. Now, in this bit here in the time reference, adjectives and nouns don't need to be inflected for the time. So if you're talking about the future, when you go on holiday, you should wear a hat. Or if you're talking about the past, when I fell over, I hurt my knee. For that, when you go on holiday, when I hurt my knee, if this is an adjective or a noun, you don't have to put this into the past or the future, depending on whether or not you're talking about the past or future. Okay. These verbs should be in their plain form, though. This verb, time reference verb here, in either the plain present tense, the plain negative, sorry, the present negative, the past affirmative, and the past negative. I'll explain some of this as we go through it slowly. So you can really think of toki as being a noun to mean time that's modified by adjectives. So atsui toki means when it is hot. It can also mean when it was hot, which we'll come to later. So atsui toki just means when hot. Could be past, could be present, could be future. It's not specified yet. Hima means free time. And this is a na adjective. So when you're free, hima na toki, when you're free, or when you were free. Again, at the moment, the tense has not been specified in this sentence. Chisai toki means when you are small or when you were small. This is generally used to mean when you were a child. Chisai toki. So all that's happening is the adjective is modifying the word toki. Imagine toki being a noun, being an object. So let's try a little play, shall we? Let's start easy and we'll make it a little bit harder towards the end. Nathan, how would you say when it was warm? When it was warm. One more time.
Atsui toki.
So atsui means unpleasantly hot, but what about pleasantly warm?
It's atatakai toki.
Yeah, atatakai toki. Tachi, how about when it was cool?
Samui toki.
So that's cold, unpleasantly cold. What's pleasantly cool?
I don't remember.
Can anybody help?
Suzushi.
Good. Suzushi.
Suzushi toki.
Yeah. You can have the all of the e's at the end. Suzushi toki.
Suzushi toki.
Yeah, exactly. Tobe. Now we've done all the weather things, we can't really do those anymore. So I'm going to ask, when cars are expensive?
車が高い時
Yeah, exactly. Kuruma ga takai toki. Kuruma ga takai toki. When cars are expensive. Harry, how about when travel is cheap? Travel is ryoko. Ryoko.
Yoko ga yasui toki.
Yeah, good. Ryoko ga yasui toki. Ryoko ga yasui toki, when travel is cheap. And Yanis, when, I'm going to just make something random now, when guitars are difficult.
Guitars ga musukashi toki.
Yeah, good. Guitar ga musukashi toki. Exactly. So this, at the moment, these phrases we've just made, these aren't saying if this happened in the past or the future yet. That happens when we describe the outcome. Let's carry on with this part though. For noun references like events, we, just as we did with other things, we need no after the noun. So for example, byoki no toki means when I was ill. Gakusei no toki, so gakusei means student, means when I was a student. Now, also bear in mind that these can also be in the future. So byoki no toki could mean when I become ill, or gakusei no toki, when I become a student in the future, when I am a student or when I am ill. These, again, are not time sensitive yet if we're using adjectives. You all right, Harry? You trying to find more clothes to put on? You okay, Harry? Yeah? Okay. All right so far then, guys? Cool. We're going to go through, if we don't finish this today, guys, it doesn't matter. We're going to go through this really slowly. Okay, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. This is Momi Sensei on his way to Japan. Okay, going on a plane. So this journey to Japan has got kind of 3 stages to the journey. Before you go to Japan, while you're going to Japan, and when you have arrived in Japan. Okay, so for any event, for any verb which takes some duration, there's always going to be a before, during, and after. So Momi Sensei is now describing about his journeys to Japan. So he says, when I go to Japan, I fly from Heathrow. So I know this sounds like a habit now. This sounds like a regular occurrence. So if it's a regular occurrence, this is going to be the future tense. For example, Watashi wa maishu dojo ni ikimasu. So every week I go to the dojo. Maishu, every week, dojo ni ikimasu. So for regular occurrences, things that happen regularly, I can use the present, or what's called the present tense, but it means future tense. Ikimasu, tabemasu, skaimasu, etc. And then he says that when I'm flying to Japan, when I'm actually on the plane, I watch movies. And then finally, when I arrived in, now he's talking about a past event. When I arrived in Japan, I went to Tokyo. This is now a past event, when I arrived in Japan. So in this case, he would say, Nihon ni iku toki. This iku here means before this verb is completed. Before this verb is completed. Hisuro kara tobimasu. I fly from Heathrow. So before I actually am on the journey, I'm leaving from Heathrow. So this is in the future tense because it hasn't happened yet. Here, while I am flying to Japan, Nihon ni tonderu toki. So this means during the process of this verb happening, during the process, eiga o mimasu. So this is saying I regularly watch movies. This is in the future tense, while in the process of flying to Japan. And then finally, Nihon ni tsuita toki, Tokyo ni ikimashita. So this means when this tsuku, when this arriving in Japan was completed, this could be itta as well, by the way. Nihon ni itta toki, Tokyo ni ikimashita. Now he's saying this happened in the past. When I went to Japan, when I arrived in Japan, I went to Tokyo. Okay, and this is saying after. In the past tense means that this was completed. Okay. Now, almost certainly at the moment you're now confused, most of you, I guess. Can you do a Tiffany dance to say you're confused? Nobody's confused. Cool, let's go straight on to the questions. Okay, Yemis is confused. Okay. If you're not confused yet, then I'll help you to get more confused as we go forwards. So these are not your 3 unique options. These aren't fixed. You have to think about the order of events in reference to what? You have to ask yourself, is this whole thing happening in the future, or has it already happened in the past? And am I saying, before I do this thing, I do this, or after I do this thing, I do this? Okay. Let's try and look at this in a little bit more detail. Tobe, you're about to say something, I can tell. No?
Yeah, I just had a question. It maybe not on the subject, but this last sentence, Nihon ni tsuita toki toki ni ikimashita.
Yeah.
Would this mean when you went to Japan, you went to the Tokyo airport, or could this also mean that when you went to Japan, you then went further along to Tokyo?
Right, so that's a good question. It's not actually, there's not enough detail in this sentence to answer that question. This could mean, I mean, this could be written as Nihon ni tsuita toki, Narita ni ikimashita. Narita is an airport. Narita ni ikimashita. This could be implicit in the sentence as well. It's not actually clear yet what it means. What it does mean is, at the moment that my journey in the airplane was completed, I went to Narita. Now this could mean now I'm in Narita, or it could mean from this point onwards I went to Narita. It doesn't actually specify in the sentence, so there's not enough information currently to actually make that distinguished.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's look into this in a little bit more elementary basis. So let's go through these criteria we have to ask ourselves. Let's think about exactly when this event took place. Okay, did it happen in the past? Is it happening now? Or will it happen in the future? What I would suggest is that you don't think about translating from your own language into Japanese, because it probably won't help. It probably won't help. For example, in English, we would say, when I meet my friend, I always shake his hand. But in Japanese, this would mean before I meet my friend, I shake my hand. Sorry, I shake his hand. In English, this looks like the future tense, doesn't it? When I meet my friend. But in Japanese, this would mean, if you translated this directly, it would mean before the process of meeting my friend begins. So you'd have to say, when I met my friend, I always shake his hand. You'd have to translate it this way. This means that this bit needs to be in the past tense to suggest completion of this verb. And this bit here is in the future tense to say this always happens. This happens on a regular basis. So basically this sentence here means you actually have to meet up with your friend first before you shake their hand. Otherwise you haven't met them. You're going to meet them, but you haven't met them yet. Are we all, just on this single point, are we all clear on this, guys? The reason why there's this difference between probably European languages and Japanese?
Reminds me the Tara condition.
Right. So Tara, exactly this, means the completion of a verb. And in fact, the past tense of verbs in Japanese are generally used to suggest not exactly past tense, but the completion of something. The completion of something. I'll come back to this 3 asterisks later because there's something to say about it. Okay, this is probably a slightly easier example to understand. So chakuriku suru toki, this means when the plane is about to land, when it's in its landing process. So this suru, this is in the future tense. This means it hasn't yet been completed. Not yet complete. Chakuriku suru toki. The moment the wheels touch the asphalt, this is actually the landing point. This is when landing is in the process of being completed. So this is chakuriku shite iru toki. This is in the present continuous tense now, to say it's in the process of being completed. So this is exactly when the plane is exactly landing, or during landing. You think of this as being during landing. And then once the plane is on the ground and it's now moving towards the terminal, this is chakurika shita toki. This is in the past tense, when the plane has landed. By the way, this is how Ryanair always land their planes. They just point the nose at the ground and pray. Back in a second, guys. Harry's still with us, guys. She just got the camera off because she's trying on a range of beachwear at the moment for our British summer. Yeah.
What do you think of the wellies?
Really nice. Really nice. I like the boat as well. It's also quite good. Okay, everybody all right so far? Cool. Okay. So just to repeat what I said in response to Tachi, when we have a verb in the what's called the present tense, basically means future tense, this means not completed. In the present continuous, this means in the process of being completed. And when this in the past tense, this means it has been completed. It's over. It's done. Give it up, man. It's over. Okay. Now, remember that the plane about to land, the plane in the process of landing, and the plane has landed, these three events can either be in the past or the future, can't they? The plane was about to land, the plane was in the process of landing, and the plane had landed. And then that's all in the past tense. And then in the future tense, I can say the plane will be about to land, the plane will be in the process of landing, and the plane will have landed. So I can talk about the not complete, in the process of complete, or completed in the present, in the past or the future, can't I? Anybody confused so far?
Does the outcome, and like the bit of the phrase that comes after toki, is that what defines whether it's the past, the present, or the future?
You're giving a spoiler, Nathan. This is exactly the answer. Exactly the answer. The outcome is the thing that tells you when this actually happened. Exactly this. I will get to that in a second, though. Yeah, in fact, here we have it here. So if you want to say when the plane is about to land, you should put your seatbelt on, or you do put your seatbelt on. So chakuriku suru toki, seatbelt o shimemasu, which means when the plane is about to land, you put your seatbelt on. But then to put that whole event into the past, as you said, Nathan, you can indicate that by the outcome. This one here, seatbelt o shimemashita. Now this last verb tells you whether the whole sentence is in the past or the future. So chakuriku suru toki, seatbelt o shimemashita. So this means before the plane landed, basically before the plane landed, when the plane was landing, about to land, we put our seatbelts on. So the event happened in the past, but we're giving this kind of time reference in relation to the final verb. Okay, when the plane actually hit the asphalt, when the plane was landing, it made a loud noise. So we'd say okina oto ga demasu. This means okina means large, oto sound, ga demasu means released. So when the plane, in this first instance, chakuriku shite iru toki, okina oto ga demasu. So demasu means this happens this is going to happen in the future. When the plane is landing, there will be a loud noise. There will be a loud noise. And then if we look at the second sentence, this now positions the entire sentence in the past. Chakuriku shite iru toki, okina oto ga demashita. So this happened already. When the plane was landed, in the process of landing, there was a loud noise. And then finally, chakuriku shita toki, when completion had when landing had been completed, seatbelt o hazushimasu. So we release our seatbelts, we take off our seatbelts. So at the moment, chakuriku shita toki, when landing has been completed. Seatbelt o hazushimasu. We take off our seatbelts. When landing is completed, we take off our seatbelts. This is talking about the future. Or when the plane had landed, chakuruku shita toki, seatbelt o hazushimashita. When the plane landed, we took off our seatbelts. This is now in the past. The whole event is in the past. We doing okay, guys? Tachi, dozo.
What's the good reason not to use nagara or dojini?
Nagara means that you have to be the subject, which means that you are the plane in this case. And dojini means an instantaneous event. So for this one here, the middle one, dojini you could use in this case. You could say chakuriku suru dojini oki no oto ga demashita. So you could say at the same time the plane landed, there was a loud noise. You could absolutely use it for this case. These are two momentary events. The plane hitting the ground, well, this is called landing, isn't it? The plane touching the ground and the loud noise, these are two instantaneous events. They're very short time events. So you can use dojini in this case. Yeah. Harry, are you okay? Because I can't see whether or not you're smiling or you're now trying on the waders.
I'm smiling whilst trying on waders.
Oh, okay, good, good, good. Okay, I'm going to summarize this again in the next slide, just to make it completely clear, so we're all really, really happy with this, but I'm going to add a little bit more detail now. Sometimes you might hear, for example, chakuriku suru toki ni seatbelt o shimemasu. So sometimes ni is put in here and sometimes it isn't. Actually, you only need to include ni if you want to draw attention to that time reference. So let me give you two examples. Well, we've got one example. Let's read here. You only need to say toki ni if you want to give emphasis to that time reference. For example, kaimono shite iru toki ni keitai de podcast o kikimasu. So this means it is when I'm shopping that I listen to podcasts. Means when do you listen to podcasts? It is when I'm shopping that I listen to podcasts, not any other time, not really any other time, mainly when I'm shopping. If you just simply say, kaimono shiteru toki, keitai de podcast o kikimasu, this just means when I'm shopping, I listen to podcasts, suggesting that there are other times that you listen to podcasts. But this one means, in particular, it is when I'm shopping that I listen to podcasts. So ni is a little bit like wa. It draws your attention to this particular case. Is that all okay, guys? Cool. Now, just to give you in a second, you can see how politically sensitive I am, can't you? Right. So. You might want to take just a few minutes to read this. If it doesn't make any sense, don't worry. There's actually another slide to help. But if I can ask you to read this, though, this will kind of summarize what I've just been saying. And I'll be back in a second. Okay. Are you writing this out, Toby? Okay.
I just take notes.
Okay, cool. So let me explain why. Is anybody writing this down? Yeah, sure. Okay. I expect to walk like an Egyptian when you finish writing stuff down, Taji.
Maybe we should introduce the fish slapping dance.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's less culturally appropriating, isn't it?
Yeah.
The trouble is I don't actually have a fish here with me now. Yeah. And we need a river as well, Toby. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Excellent. Good dance. Good dance. The reason why I'm pointing this out, guys, is that if you do other study on websites and things, you might actually find that in quite a few cases, people don't follow these rules. But you can see here it is written in black and white. This is from a very well-researched Japanese grammar book called Nihongo no Kiso, which is written by linguists for language learning rather than just by native speakers. Now, the reason why I point it out is that there's two reasons why people might not be using Toki in the way that you expect. First reason is they don't understand the rules, which is very highly possible because these Toki rules are kind of complex and not very intuitive. They're kind of, you know, if you translate your own language into Japanese, you probably won't get it right. But the other reason is was the same reason why I marked this sentence here with 3 asterisks. So when I meet my friend, I always shake his hand. And we would say, oh, in Japanese, we should say, when I met my friend, I always shake his hand. This is a little bit of a problem question, really, because when does the meeting actually begin? When would you say, I am now, the process of meeting my friend has now begun? Does it happen when you've just spotted each other 50 meters walking towards each other? Does it happen when you're now within speaking distance? Does it happen when you've shaken hands? Does it begin once you've given each other a hug? Does it begin when you've actually moved to the coffee shop that you have agreed to sit down and have your meeting in? When does it begin? Don't know. I mean, you could say that the meeting doesn't actually start until I've shaken his hand. So in which case you would have to say, tomodachi ni ao toki te o hakushou shimasu. You have to kind of, sounds like you have to break the rules of Toki. So that line of saying the verb has started and is now being completed can be slightly kind of fuzzy, which is why sometimes you might hear Japanese people using Toki in a way that you didn't expect. Is that okay? Okay. Right, I'm going to summarize it finally with this. Okay, so how to say the right thing. I can't actually remember how this slide is built up, so you have to give me a second. Ah, right, okay. So an event, let's make me rewind slightly. An event happens in either the past, or it's happening now, or the whole event will happen in the future. or happens on a regular basis. If it happened in the past, then when we use toki, we're either saying before that event happened, during the event happening, or after the event happening. And this is the same for presently and also for the future. Before I go shopping, I will wear a coat. So that's future and it's before. So when I go shopping means before I go shopping, I will wear a coat. When I go shopping, I always pay for the goods, which means when I finish shopping, I always pay for the goods. So this, whether it happens either before completion, during completion, or after completion, is indicated by this first part before toki. That's the tense you put here. And then this bit here, the blah, blah, blah afterwards, the verb at the end tells you, the tense of this tells you if this happens in the future, happened in the present, or happened in the past. Don't double up time references. I don't actually remember what this means.
I think you said that the time reference when doing the toki, for instance, shakuriku iru toki, you shouldn't mix up this with the completion verb. You shouldn't double this too often. So you shouldn't say then.
Sorry, no, I remember what it was now. It was set, words like ashita, tomorrow, and kino, you don't need to put toki next to. That was what it was, wasn't it?
No, yeah, and you shakuriku itta toki, and then have a mashita verb as well. So you don't.
Oh, you can double that up though.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So there's no problem with having a completion here and this being in the past. That's fine. No, it was things like saying, if you say, for example, tomorrow, yesterday, in January, you don't need to use toki. You just say ashita.
Ah, right. Yeah.
Ichigatsu.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we don't use toki
course.
for actual time references. Yeah. Okay. And at this, by the way, at this point, there were still a few people who didn't understand this. So I then introduced this slide. So this bit at the end, hang on a second, what was the time reference outcome? When I was drinking my coffee, a pigeon flew into the room. When I was drinking my coffee, a pigeon flew into the room. So this bit here, when I was drinking my coffee, hang on a second, did this. Did this happen before, during, or after this? So if it is before, then the time reference needs to be in the present tense, nomu. If it happened during the pigeon flying in the room, then it needs to be nonderu. And if it happened after you drank your coffee, then it needs to be in the past tense. Okay, this slide is...
This was what I was thinking about before.
Oh, okay. So
I mixed them up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can. So in this case, if you said a pigeon flew into the room after I drank my coffee, this is everything's in the past, isn't it? This is after I've drunk my coffee and the pigeon flew into the room, which means this happened in the past as well. So you can say this. You can double up there. Yeah. Okay. Whew.
How come we cannot use time references like yesterday or tomorrow or next year? What's wrong with it?
So you can't use toki and yesterday.
Yeah.
You can't say kino no toki. You just use kino. Kino is the time reference.
Oh, okay. So together with that word, you mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Somewhere in the sentence can we use? Like yesterday when I came home, my dad was sitting on the chair.
So you can do that. You're moving that yesterday as a kind of a general subject for the sentence, aren't you? You can do this. You can do this.
But we don't say during yesterday.
Exactly. Yeah. You wouldn't say kino no toki or achita no toki. This doesn't mean any sense. It's like saying when it was yesterday, I went to the shops. No, you wouldn't
Yeah,
say this, would you? You'd say, yesterday I went to the shops.
Yes, thank you.
Guys, any problems? Anybody not sure still? Are you okay, Harry? I'm assuming silence is good.
All good.
Good. Okay. We're nearly finished, guys. So we're going to just do 10 minutes of exercises just to consolidate this. Do you guys need a moment to write some notes? All good? Okay. Thanks, Tachi. I like it. I like it. Getting good at this. Okay. There's only about 10 exercises to do, so we should be able to get through this.
But I need to switch to another dance. It's getting boring. Can I do Hawaii?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think, is this culturally misappropriation? I'm not sure.
I'm
think so.
really more on the side of doing any kind of dance.
Okay, I think Hawaiian's fine. Hawaiian's good. I don't think that's politically incorrect, actually. It is a legitimate dance. Okay, Nathan, when I eat, I sit at the table.
Am I going to want to use the present continuous? So,
This would be fine.
tabete iru toki.
Good.
What's the word for table?
Teburu.
Of course it is.
It's a long te. Teburu. I think it's a long
Teburu.
te.
Could I turn this around and say teburu de tabete iru toki? No.
That
Yeah,
just
that's
means when I sit at the table and eat, when I'm eating at the table.
Teburu de.
Yep.
Hang on. Sit is suwaru. So,
Yep. What
suwarimasu.
Yeah, suwarimasu. Good. Okay, so let's just use this as an example to just make sure everything's good. Suwarimasu, this verb here means when this whole thing happens, and you're using this to say on a regular basis, aren't you? And this is when I am eating, I sit at the table. So you probably you could say just before I eat, I'm also sitting at the table, right?
Yeah.
Just before you actually put food in your gob, you're already sitting at the table, right?
So would that become taberu toki?
Yeah, both of these are fine though. Taberu toki, teburu de suwarimasu. So this kind of means, I mean, this really the overall meaning is the same. This means while I am eating, I sit at the table. This means kind of like when I begin to eat, I sit at the table. I think in this case you can use either. It doesn't really matter.
If you said suwarimashita, that would be saying before I eat, I sat at the table.
No, this means if you said taberu toki, teburu de suwarimashita, this puts the whole event into the past. This means when I ate, I sit at the table. Or actually, this means before I ate, I sat at the table. Yeah.
Right.
Or just to use this one here, what you did before, put that in there. Suwarimashita. This would mean, well, what would you think this meant, Nathan?
When the plane was, or when the plane, I'm reading the plane example as I'm working through this. When I was eating.
Yeah. So while I was eating,
sitting down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I sat at the table. Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly that. Good. Tachi. When I'm eating, I like to watch television.
食べているとき、
Good.
テレビを、what was watching again?
見る。見る。
見ることが好きです。
Oh, good. So actually, that was a really good way of trying to change that into I like to do it. It's actually miru no ga suki desu. But that was if you said miru koto ga suki desu, this is correct for writing.
Yeah.
If you're writing this, then you'd say miru koto ga suki desu. If you're saying it though, you'd say miru no ga suki desu. Yeah,
Right.
good. Excellent. Tobe, when I finish eating, I put my dirty plates in the dishwasher. It's dirty, by the way, you can just say used in place.
Okay. Would it suffice with kitana as well, or?
Yeah, you can use kitana. I don't mind.
Okay. So, taberu owaru toki.
Okay, let's not use a waru for now. Let's just use taberu.
Tabeta
Good. Tabeta.
toki.
Yes.
Kitanai no osara.
どうしてのを使うんですか?
I finished eating.
Yeah. なんでのを使うんですか? なんでのを?
No, kitanai osara.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't need no. do we?
Right. Yeah. Kitanai osara and dishwasher. Sorry. Sara.
Is it sararaiki? I don't remember actually.
Sararai. Yeah, something like that.
So it might even just be dishwasher. Dishwasher.
Sararaiki.
Sararaiki, isn't it? Yeah, sararaiki. Araiki.
Ni. Okimasu.
You actually put it inside, so this would be okimasu would be understood.
Iremasu.
Yeah, good. Iremasu. So the reason why I wanted to steer you away from tabe owaru, because this kind of can be a bit confusing at the moment. But this needs to be the past tense to say when I have finished eating, I then put my plates in the dishwasher, right?
Yeah.
If you can use tabe owaru, but how would you say it though?
I would say tabe owatta.
Yeah, you've still got to keep this in the past tense. Yeah. This just means when I have finished eating. Yeah. Good. Yanis, when I go to work, I always lock the house door.
Work is benkyo.
No, it's shigoto. Yeah.
Shigoto. Shigoto suru.
Let's use go to work. Let's go to work. You don't work at home, do you?
So shigoto iku.
Yes, shigoto ni iku.
Shigoto ni iku toki.
Good.
Doa houses. House. The house
is yeah.
Is doa no ie.
Ie no doa.
Ie no do. Lock.
So Tobe, can you remember, or can anybody remember how to say to lock a door, to apply a lock?
Kio, and then kakeru.
So you can say
Kio.
key. You'd be understood. Kagi.
Kagi, sorry.
Oh,
Kakeru.
yeah, good.
Kagi o kakeru.
Yeah, kagi. Oops, sorry. So this is door no kagi o, and then kake in the polite form, just to keep us polite for the time being.
Kakemasu.
Kakemasu. Good. Okay, good. So this basically means before I go to work, shigoto ni iku toki. So before going to work has been completed or even started, before that process of getting in your car or getting on a bus, before that happens. So this is in the future tense. I always close the door. So this is going to be here. How do you say always, Yanis?
Always. I don't remember.
Who can help? Anybody?
Itsumo?
Itsumo, yeah. This can go basically anywhere. But we'll stick it there for now. Good. Okay, Harry, on a similar thread now, this is now different tense. When I went to work, I locked the house door.
Well, I didn't lock the house door after I'd gone to work. I locked it during going to work. So I'm guessing that.
Or even before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, before.
Yeah,
okay.
before the process of going to work happens.
So
yeah.
Shigoto ni iku toki.
Good. Yep.
Ie no doa.
Good.
I guess it'd be no kage or kakemashita.
Yeah, kakemashita. Good. Exactly this. So again, yeah, as you said, this means before I kind of actually started the process of going to work, which we can imagine as being walking away from your house and starting the journey, I locked the door. So this has to be in the future or present future tense, as you did. Yeah, good. Nathan, when I was going to work, I saw an accident at the crossing.
Shigoto ni iteiru.
Good. Iteiru.
Toki. Accident is
Jiko.
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 That's right.
Jiko.
Tip of my tongue. Jiko or
do you know crossing?
Crossing.
This is
no.
Kosaten. Kosaten.
Kosaten de Jiko or Mimashita.
Yeah, good. Mimashita. I'm just going to quickly check the spelling of Kosaten. I think it's a double S. Sorry. I might be getting confused with Kisaten. Kosaten. Oh, no, it says Kosaten. Sorry, Kosaten. Kosaten de Mimashita. Good, yeah. So while I was, basically this means while I was going to work, I saw an accident at the crossing. Excellent, good. Tachi? When I went to Japan, I met with my friend in Shinagawa. Are you muted, Tachi?
はい。日本にいるとき、行くとき
Okay.
When I went to Japan, you say 行ったとき。
Yeah, you basically have to arrive in Japan before you meet your friend in Shinagawa, right?
はい。行ったとき、
Mm-hmm.
友達を品川で友達を会いました。
Yeah, we usually use either ni or to for ao.
はい。会いました is like meeting, right? So maybe
Yeah, this is good. Yeah, this is perfect. This is good. When I went to Japan, yeah, good. So when I had arrived in Japan, this is what this means. When I had already arrived in Japan, I met with my friend in Shinagawa. Good. Tobe. Last night while I was sleeping, someone stole my car. Ah, you're the right person to do this topic.
So this is how to do a double time reference.
So for last night, you're right here. So
Yeah.
this is kind of last night, comma.
Yubega.
Yeah, or yubeni.
Yubeni.
Yeah.
Nemuri toki, nemete toki. 眠っているとき。
眠ります。眠って。
眠っているとき。
Yeah. Sorry. 眠っているとき。Yeah.
誰も。
Not 誰も, but someone is 誰。
誰か。
誰か. Yes, good.
車を。盗みました。
盗みました。Yes, good. 盗みました。Perfect. Well done. And Yanis, while I am meeting my friend, we like to drink coffee. Now, you could use nagara here, to be honest, but I'd like you to use toki.
Okay. So, sorry, my connection have a problems.
Oh, okay.
Watashi no tomodachi.
Good.
Ga. Meeting is ao.
Ao, yep.
And it's in the third form is ate.
Ate.
Ate toki.
So it can't just be ate, it can be either atta or ateiru. So Yanis, let me ask you a question. Is this event happening during the meeting with your friend while you're together, or after you have met each other, or before you've met each other?
During.
During, yeah. So we can use maybe present
continuous. We like to drink coffee together.
Sorry, one more time. Sorry, yes, one more time.
During our meeting.
Yep. So this would be ateiru, right?
Yes.
Toki.
Ateiru toki. Kohi o. Nomimasu.
Kohi o nomimasu. Okay, good. So this is fine. Where'd you do your one, Tachi? Maybe it was in the previous one. No, okay, good. Yeah, this is fine. So we could have with this one, Yanis. The meeting is actually the coming together. So this one you could also do. Tashi no tomodachi. Oh, sorry. To atta toki. You could use the past tense as well to say we've now made contact, we're together, and now we drink coffee. So both of these are fine. Yeah. Okay, Harry, when I came to Japan, I bought this map at the airport.
So, Nihon ni.
Yeah.
Kita toki.
Good. Yes.
Kono map.
So map is chizu.
Kono chizu. O.
Good.
By Kai.
At the airport though.
Kukoni.
Kuko, but it's an event that's happening at the airport.
Kode.
Kuko de.
The airport. This map at the airport I bought. To buy.
Would you like to buy a cow?
Cow.
Yeah.
Cow kaimashita.
Yeah, good. Kaimashita. Perfect. So this means you had to have already arrived in Japan, kitatoki, and then this happened. This whole event happened in the past because you said kaimashita. Good. Excellent. Well, you guys actually got all of that perfect. Well done.
You see that last sentence? If
yeah.
you put it in the present continuous form, would that suggest you bought it when you were on the plane?
Yes, it would. Yeah, in the process of coming to Japan. Yeah, exactly. And if you said Nihon ni kuru toki, this would mean basically you bought it in the UK or your origin airport. Yeah. Okay, good. Any questions, guys? Any problems?
Nope.
I'm pleased to see that having it explained over the space of 30 slides, you managed to get it perfect. Excellent. Right. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you very much.
お疲れ様でした。
Have
a nice day.
あ
ありがとうございました。またね。
ね。
気をつけて。
気をつけて。
じゃあね。